Torah sisters, it's Amy Gunther. Let's talk in this video about the Feast of Trumpets, or as in Hebrew it's called Yom Teruah, or you could also call it the day of shouting, the day of making noise. So we're into the fall feast season on the biblical calendar, and the first feast in the fall feast season is this upcoming one, Yom Teruah. So I'm mainly talking to those of you who are brand new to Torah, you're brand new to the feast, and you just do not know where to start. And you've been asking me on my Facebook page. That's why I'm making this video. You, however, need to study the word yourself. So a great resource for that is my friend Anne. I will link to it in the description below. On her website at Homeschooling Torah, she has a free download Bible study, and it's all about the feast. Print it. Do it together as a family. Actually write into answers. And you can skip right to the section about Yom Teruah if you're in a hurry right now. And then do each feast as they approach. So dig into scripture. You can watch my video, but ultimately everything Amy says is just Amy's interpretation and Amy's opinion. So you're responsible for following the scripture as you interpret it, right? So don't be lazy. Dig into the word and see what it says about this feast. The next thing, I also have on my website a page called like resources or stuff I love, something like that, or new to Torah. And it has a list of a lot of other websites and ministries, YouTube channels that I have learned a lot from. So you can go and check out what those folks have to say about Yom Teruah. Don't listen to just me by any means. The next thing we should talk about, the biggest question I get is, when is the Feast of Trumpets? So here's the quick lowdown on the calendars, folks, for those of you who are brand new to this Torah stuff. Many of us who walk this Torah, like we're doing the Sabbath, here's the thing, we don't all keep the feast days on the exact same day as each other. We follow different calendars, and here's why. We basically interpret the scriptures differently. So the scriptures tell us when these feast days should happen, and it tells us how to count the Hebrew calendar according to the moon and things like this. But we don't all interpret how to carry that out the same. And that's a shame. Of course it is. We would all like to be doing it the same. But because we believe, like I just said, that we are all responsible for our own obedience and for following the scriptures how we interpret them, that's why we do that. We each follow our own convictions. They're all good people who follow these different calendars. You know, there's good people in every calendar. They just are seeing the scriptures differently. So there's also then the Jewish traditional Hallel calendar, and people have reasons for following that calendar. So if you don't know, now this year I think we're really close, or really the same. Usually most people are celebrating really close, within a day or two or 3 or 4 days of each other. If you do not have time right now to study which calendar is right, and I understand, because that study might take you months, and you don't know which day to celebrate on because you don't know which one's right, then I recommend celebrate on the day that people around you are celebrating. So if someone invites you to a party on their calendar day, and you don't know which day is it anyway, go and celebrate it with them on the day that they think it is. Don't be stuck at home saying, I guess I can't do it because I don't know when it is. That's not honoring the Father. He is so much more honored by our efforts, by our effort and our circumcised heart to try. And so we're all trying. And some of us change our minds. You'll see us change our minds. Like, oh, now I think maybe this calendar is more correct. So you always have to be open to learning new things. And that's why I say with this video, what I'm about to say is how Amy looks at it in 2020. The way I look at Feast of Trumpets might slightly change. We're all new to this. So I will be doing it this year, the glorious year of 2020. I will be doing the Feast of Trumpets on the evening of September 18th through to sunset on the September 19th. Okay? And that's, again, the sighted moon calendar. And I think that is maybe one day off from the Hallel calendar. So the next thing you need to, sorry, this is turning into a long video, but it's a feast. They're a big deal. The next thing you need to know now, when we talk about actually what we do on the feast is, I'm sure you've heard this before, but I'm going to say it every single video I make about the feast, is know the difference between what is commanded in Scripture and what is tradition. And then what might be prohibited. So there's commands, there's traditions, and then some things are prohibited. So as you explore things to do, they probably fall into one of those kinds of categories. And then just lots and lots of stuff is just permitted. So a command is something that the Scriptures tell us to do on a feast day. So let's go through those first. What are the basic commands? And I'm going to focus on ones that we can do while we're in exile. These feast days, some of them are pilgrimage feasts. You know, you can go to Jerusalem for these feasts. And some of them, they all have specific offerings to take. But I'm not going to focus on those right now because we don't have to do those. There's no temple. We can't do those. Someday maybe we'll have the privilege yet again. But for now, I'm going to say some scriptures. You can write as fast as you can, but these are also in all the links in the Bible study. Leviticus 23, Numbers chapter 10, Numbers chapter 29, Isaiah 27:13, Zechariah 9:14, and then also check out 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, and I think Matthew 24. And there's other places too. This is just a really short synopsis of where we find commands. We're told to do it on the first day of the month. And we're also told to blow trumpets and make a joyful noise. That's a biblical command. How fun is that? And we're to shout and make a joyful noise. So those are the commands. To do it on the first day of the 7th month, which I think means when you see the moon, when there's a new moon, the Rosh Hashanah. And we make noise and blow trumpets. And it has the same rules as the other high feast days. You are allowed to cook on this day, but you don't work. So these are things that are prohibited in Scripture. You don't do work, specifically the work that makes you money in your occupation. And we don't buy and sell on these high days. And we are commanded to gather with other believers, or to convocate, if able, to be with other people. So the commands are really short. Blow a shofar, do it, try to be with other people. And then the prohibitive commands are to not work. There's a lot of leeway in that. So the commands that are in Scripture are what you should feel that you are obligated to follow. You're obligated to follow Scripture. Now, there are many, many traditions, mostly, of course, from our Jewish brothers and sisters, and some of them are lovely traditions, and you can go and study and learn about those. Especially on this day, they have a tradition of Rosh Hashanah, where they also celebrate this as the beginning of the new year. I think the beginning of the new year is back in April or March, whenever, Aviv is. But you can go and study out why they do that. And if you go to a party like that, fine. I don't see it prohibited to go, do the Rosh Hashanah stuff. But just know the difference between what you're obligated to and what are traditions. So, yeah, then within the tradition realm and what is permissive, it's wide open. So I will tell you kind of what I've done on trumpets or what I've seen other people do. First of all, I want to show you this book. My friend Robin Sampson. What's it called? A Family Guide to the Biblical Holidays. Activities for all ages. It's really, really practical, and everybody loves this book. I'll link it below. It's big and hefty, but it's packed full of goodies. So lots of traditions in there, especially stuff for children. So these feast days are parties. So have a party. The Day of Trumpets, I've always been to a party, and if there's no party to go to, I have a party in my house. The parties are often at night, so that when the sun goes down and you can see the moon, and then the party starts. So remember how I said it starts on September 18th at sundown? That's a good time to have a party. And then it can be obviously a late night party. However, that doesn't work for everybody. Our gray hairs and our little ones don't always do well. So a lot of people also will have a party on the daytime party the next day. And then it looks a lot like a regular Sabbath, but souped up. Like you're going to take your regular Sabbath stuff and soup it up. So it's totally appropriate, of course, to study the word together or to have some special readings related to the Feast of Trumpets. I'm not going to go into all the meanings of trumpets right now. That there's lots of stuff, again, on those links that I sent you. That's the most important part, right? Is to know the meaning of the day. This stuff that I'm talking about is ancillary, but it can help you focus on that meaning. So have some scripture readings that focus on the meaning of the day. Special music, worship, singing and dancing, and then all the time, or maybe all at once or throughout the time, make noise. A lot of people blow their shofars right at sunset, and they blow them throughout the worship service, and they'll give the kids kazoos or those little blowing noisemakers. Lately, when I see Feast of Trumpets parties, it reminds me of New Year's Eve. So New Year's Eve here in America, now it's a big tradition. At midnight, people go outside and make lots of noise. They bang pots and shoot fireworks and stuff. Every time I see that now at New Year's Eve, I'm like, oh, that should all be done at the Feast of Trumpets. So feel free to, honestly, after 4th of July, get fireworks half off and save them for the Feast of Trumpets if you're allowed. Or maybe just sparklers. Check your local ordinance. But it's a day of making noise and having a party and lots of excitement. A lot of us will, if the weather's nice, we have outside parties because it's still September. You can do crafts with the kids. Last year, a sweet friend of mine made paper mache shofars. So there's some, you go on Pinterest, or I think in this book, you can learn how to make shofars for the little kids out of kazoos and stuff. Just use your imagination, because you can see there's a lot of things that are permitted. And none of this is commanded. So we all just kind of do what we think is celebratory. Make it fun. Make it memorable. Make it special for the kids especially. Bring out special foods. I mean, there's always a potluck, right? Maybe make this potluck even more special. So there's everybody brings a regular dish to pass, and then everybody brings a dessert. Okay? Extra sweets, extra treats. Whatever like that. A lot of people will drink wine together at these feasts, or whatever. Whatever beverage you want. But we're commanded to feast. We're commanded to have fun. And that's what I think that verse in Colossians 2 is talking about. Don't let anyone judge you for having fun and drinking and eating good food on these feast days. Look at it like that. Doesn't that make sense? So hopefully throughout the year, you've been following the command to set aside money for the feast days. And so you should have extra money to have extra treats and pay for the crafts and stuff like that. So you take your regular Sabbath and you soup it up even more. That's how I look at it. A lot of us will have a party. This year, some friends of mine are renting a church building, the same one we rent for Sabbath sometimes. And we'll probably hang out for hours and hours and hours together as believers worshiping. So there will be like a service time, and then there'll just be playtime. Kids go play, the adults talk. And it looks like a lot like a Sabbath, but usually more food, more fun. A mom might bring a craft for the kids and things like that. So let me look at my notes. Yeah, I told you everything I wanted to tell you. So just, you can see you have a lot of leeway. Make it fun. Make it fun, make it memorable, make it all about Yeshua, because he's the center now. We know that he's the center of all these feasts, and worship the Father. And yeah, what a special thing, huh? To get rid of all the worldliness. And you can do some things from the world during these feasts, crafts, they're just a common thing. But to have it be all about a focus on the one who created you. Isn't it cool? Leave comments if you've been doing the Trumpets feast before. Leave some comments. Tell us what you do. Be nice to each other, or I shall delete your comment. Don't argue. But share your traditions or what your group does, or some even favorite recipes for Yom Teruah. So that's all. Bye.